Welcome, everybody, to episode 46. We hope it's number 46 of Armchair Keepers of Arcane Secrets. I am your hat-wearing host number one, Matt Ryan, and I'm joined with hat-wearing host number two,
Geis, with the cat hat.
with the cat hat. Now, I've got the Bills head. Did you watch the Sabres lose in overtime last week?
Yeah, I'm a huge hockey fan, right? I can't get enough.
Well, it was brutal. The whole
Sorry.
neighborhood was together in a pub, and we're watching it, and then Montreal scored, and that was it. Anyways, Bob, we got a lot of catching up to do here.
Yes, it's over. I did it, Matt. I landed the plane. My crew, the Indianapolis crew, finished Mask of Nyarlathotep.
We're on the floor. So this is it, folks. We have accomplished our goal. We both have successfully run, past tense, runned. What's the past tense of
runned? Yeah,
we both
totally.
runned Masks of Nyarlathotep, the epic campaign by Chaosium. We ought to go through the credits of people that worked on it, but we don't have it handy. So we know many of the folks, though, and many of the folks have been on the show. I'm rambling, Bob.
All right.
Here's what I want to know off the top. Original investigators, how many survived the whole thing?
The original one investigator survived, and I'm telling you, he did it just barely. I mean, I was gunning for him, right? I mean, again, because he was. So let me go. Let me start.
How loving. Okay, you go. I'm just going to be quiet and.
All right. So again, there they were. Again, this was Kenya. They were ascending the mountain of the Black Wind to do this. And I had set this thing up, Matt, so that it was a very it was a tailored episode, right? So they had certain challenges to go through to get up this mountain. And there were 3 challenges. I set 3 challenges. And again, so this was going up the mountain, right? So they were there at the finale, right? So
yes.
This was in the finale in the Kenya chapter is this huge ceremony. This ceremony, which is incredibly important to the cult of the bloody tongue, right? Which is the birth of the spawn of Nyarlathotep, the birth of the spawn. And so it starts with the players at the base of the mountain, like a base camp, like Everest base camp, with all these other little pockets of cultists there. In the last episode, I talked about how one of my guys walked up to one of the other cultists and said, "Hey, what's going on here, guys?"
That was an original investigator, right?
That was an original investigator. And when he made that, he went, because the cultists are not like, "Oh, this is kind of a closed thing. We aren't really welcoming, visitors, right? It's kind of a closed party." So he got off right there at the end of the last session. He came back and he decided he would play one of the bearers, one of the porters that they had.
Because you had porters survive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he said, "I'll just pick this guy." Very important to note that. We'll put a pin in that for now.
Yeah, okay.
So they're there at the base of the mountain. Imuru comes out and she starts, addressing the crowd. And literally people are going crazy, right? The cultists are going crazy. And, the player characters are there and they're kind of spying things out. And they see that there's a little path up the mountain. And
now,
so
they hear Imuru's monologue here while she's...
Yeah.
And did you do a proper villain monologue?
Oh, of course I did. Because again, it's in the text. In there, there's a nice little speech that she can give. So it's very easy to do, right? So I can ham that up. And so they sneak over to the path and they start going up the path. But of course, the path is not like, it's not empty, right? There's cultists on it. And there's cultists, who are applauding and, participating. And as they go up, the ceremony's taking place. And again, this ceremony is to actually summon Nyarlathotep. Right. So this is going on. The thunder, the black wind is picking up and they're going up the mountain. And as they go up the mountain, that's when they encounter these challenges I've set up. Right.
Now, how meta is this? Do they know that there's going to be 3 challenges?
I don't know if I said that there were going to be 3 challenges, but I think I might have because I wanted this to be, honestly, I didn't want to spend a bunch of time on this, right? I wanted this
Right.
to be gamey because I wanted them to get to the finale, right? So
And
this was,
spend the time in the finale.
yeah, there. And so again, like the first challenge was, they just got, and again, I wanted to, Mike talked about this at another time, not every challenge should be a combat challenge, right? So, doing other things. So, they had, or a physical thing. So as they were going up, like one time there's a group of cultists blocking their way. So they could like, elbow their way through, or they could, persuade or charm or whatever and talk their way through. And those were the types of challenges. So, and again, there was another one where it was like there was kind of an earthquake and they had to like use decks to not fall off the mountain, or like is something like that. Or it was actually a wind. It was the wind was blowing, the black wind, right? The
Yeah,
mountain of the
yeah. Oh,
black
that's good.
wind.
Yeah.
And so they could use decks to avoid it, or they could use intelligence to kind of hide behind rocks and shield themselves from the wind, that sort of thing. And then the last challenge was when the cult was in full frenzy, they were like jumping off the cliff, blah, blah. And they would
Yeah, yeah.
grab, they would, and the cultists would grab an investigator and try to jump off the cliff with them. And again, this wasn't a death thing. This was a delay thing, right? The whole thing about this, the real thing was not death. It was timing, because they had to get to the top to get into the cave to avoid being present when Nyarlathotep was summoned, right? Again, so you don't want to be there for that. And so they had to get three. If they got three successes, then they were fine. If they got two successes, they were there when Nyarlathotep appeared, and so they would have the opportunity to resist looking at this terrible
Sure,
sight.
sure, sure, sure. But
And
to
if they,
look could be fatal.
all right, and if they failed all the checks, they would look for sure, right? And so one of the characters, most of the characters made all three checks, and because they were spending luck liberally to get through this. And so one character failed all three. That was Yalisha. Yalisha saw Nyarlathotep. She didn't have a lot of sanity. She lost it all.
Oh,
Boink.
wow.
Yep.
Wow, wow, wow. Now is that Elisha who thought she was the queen?
Yes. Yalisha, who thought she was Nitocris, who was going to totally do crazy stuff if she had gotten into the finale, but she never made it, right? She never
Lost
made
her
it to the
mind.
finale. Lost her mind. So the other character that really lost it was the porter, right? The new porter lost 40 sanity and a shot, but was still okay, ish,
Still
ish.
had points in the bucket.
Still had points left.
I
So
can't imagine that's not more than 20% in a single day.
that was, and so they were a little bonkers. They went a little bonkers, but honestly, I didn't want to, fiddle around with a ton of sanity stuff. So we did the usual
We
thing.
should do an episode about that, but that's an
Yep.
interesting note. Continue.
Because again, I didn't want to. This is a finale. So all right. So we'll just say that they all got up there. Yalisha's gone, right? But that's okay because I was down one player. And if you recall from the very beginning, we've had the doctor, who's one of the pre-gens, and the doctor has been passed around, right? We
Oh,
had
no, I didn't know that. So the
one,
doctor's sort of the spare character.
he is like the pinch hitter character, right? So another player whose character died, a session back, started playing the doctor. That player was gone for the session, so Brian, who was playing Alicia, is now playing the doctor, right? So we've got that
That's an
continuity.
interesting way to do it. That's an interesting way.
It-
Just
it-
pass
it-
the
it
character
was
around.
very expedient. And so there they all are in that chamber. And again, remember my setup, right? My setup with Hypatia Masters, right?
Right.
Hypatia Masters,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
she was sending the mental sendings saying, save me, right? They got one right at the base of the mountain. So she was imploring them to come rescue her. And so they get all the way up there. They go into the cave, and then they go and they see, the chamber, right? And they see all the altar and all this weird, terrible stuff.
Oh, and the pits and the whole shebang. Yeah,
And
yeah.
they see over there a pavilion tent obscuring something. It's like, what's behind the tent? Because everybody wants to look. And so they creep down there. And just as they creep down there, because they know that's where Elisha is, somebody says, oh my gosh, what if she is burying the spawn?
Oh, one of the players said
Yes.
that.
So they already started the dawn on in their heads on it. And so, yes, of course, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And I will show you now one of my favorite images in all the mask. And this, okay, so wait,
That's your newest acquisition, right?
this is courtesy of Matt Ryan.
That's
I have
right.
this book.
It was
Right.
on my shelf and now it's on Bob's.
Okay, so look at this terrible image of,
Yes.
which is just, I mean, it's Tom Sullivan who did this, and it's just stark and awful, right? But the
Yeah.
important thing is, 2 years ago, before I ever started Mask of Nyarlathotep, I bought a print of that very image
Yeah.
from Tom Sullivan, and it's been hanging on my wall ever since.
Yeah.
Since day one when we started this campaign, and my players have been staring at that image for
Without realizing,
months and
two
years.
different rooms, two different houses.
2 different rooms. And so I brought it out. And when they opened it up, I put it on the table and said, "That's what you see." And of course, there's a huge sanity loss when they see her, right? When they see her like that.
Yeah.
And it was it was pretty horrendous. It was pretty horrendous. And so and then but again, so they're there, they have that action to take, and I tell them that they hear the sounds of people coming in to from the outside, right? Nyarlathotep has been summoned, right? So there's lots going on outside, but they hear people coming into the chamber. And so immediately seeing Hypatia in that terrible state, they do what all players do: execute her.
They kill her. Yes.
Yes. And then the spawn bursts forth and begins a ruckus. A ruckus ensues, right? And so at the same time, Imwiru and Sir Opry Pinhu come in, the cult leaders. So we had the full circle, right? So we have
wow.
2 of the Carlisle expedition there. We have the spawn there, and it's a whole big
hootenanny.
It is quite something. All right, so combat ensues, and it is a great combat. Again, we can have a whole nother episode.
Are they using spells and Penhu's chucking spells?
Yes. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But we need to have a whole episode where we talk about combat, right? About combat. But in any case, we're doing it here.
I'm going to make a note. I'm going to make a note. We're going to do an episode just about running combat.
And I am completely throwing out any sort of magic point rule spell casting nonsense in this combat. I am cheating like a fiend in that aspect, right?
As the keeper, it's a lot to keep track of. If
Yes.
You're keeping track of the villain's magic point spending, it also really puts it really down throttles the effectiveness of the villain.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I totally disregarded that, and I gave each one of them signature spells that they had. Imwiru, this was a great one. This was a freaking great one. The kiss of the bloody tongue. Blah, blah, blah. All right. And essentially what happens is, like, one of her arms transforms into like the tongue of Nyarlathotep, that bloody appendage.
Yeah.
Goes
she
out.
Flaps investigates around.
Yes. It's a spell, though, so it's a power versus power thing, right? So the players were getting, and what this spell does is it does like a D6 damage, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. Then a D10 strength, a D10 con, and a D10 appearance.
It starts licking them down like an ice cream cone.
Yes, and so they're getting all that, and it's just killing them, right? It's killing them. Well, not really, because they were doing it strangely well, right? And so
what's her power score? Do you tell them what the villain's power score is?
I don't think I did, but I roll in front of them.
You're rolling in front of them. See, I will.
Yep.
I'll say, well, she's got 150 power. Let's roll the dice.
Well, again, I think I do sometimes. That's not something I don't know if I do. I don't know if I don't. I don't hide it. It doesn't matter, because I'm rolling right in front of them. They're seeing their lively right there. And it's amazing, Matt. I mean, because so she is fighting Imwiru. It really is focused on the doctor first, right? That's who she picks on, right? Now, John, it's important to note, Johnny, who's the original character, went insane when he saw Hypatia, right? So he ran off ran off into another room,
And
another
he's
part of the
playing the
chamber.
porter. Is he playing the
No,
porter?
no, no. He's playing. Johnny is one of the original characters who's like a longshoreman, right?
Oh,
He's,
okay.
all the way from New York, all the way here. So he runs off into another chamber. Colin, who is playing the young lawyer, he is so close to being completely done with sanity. I mean, and so he loses, and so he goes catatonic. He does the freeze, right, at the 4 Fs, right? And so he's frozen for a while. Pinhu is doing like the black wind or something like, or no, I don't know, some sort of fairway spell, which is basically it's like a sand blast that blinds them, right? That blinds them and does damage, right? So he's doing that. And then of course we have the spawn itself, which is lumbering around and attacking, and it is trying to kill the porter. And it is not a pushover by any means. If this thing hits you once, and it has like a 90% chance to hit you, it will kill you, right? Because it does like 46 damage plus another D10 or something. It's ridiculous. And so
Right.
it was going after the porter. And Chris, who was playing the porter, who had been playing Walter, who died, is habitually a terrible roller. But man, he was hot that night. And I mean, again, rolling in front of him, and I mean, it was like, okay, all right, I only have to roll like, and I was rolling terrible. I was at the spawn, I was rolling terrible, and he was rolling great. I don't have to roll that well because it has like a 90% chance to hit. I was still hitting, but he was doing better, right? He was doing better.
Right.
So he was avoiding this stuff. And, and again,
Which is thrilling. The table loves that kind of
yes.
stuff.
And the ridiculous thing was his weapon, because the porter he picked was the cook, was a giant frying pan. So he was literally battering the spawn of Nyarlathotep to death with a frying pan. And it was killing me on the inside a little bit because I really, it was not a noble way for this monstrosity to go down, but they were doing it. They were doing it. And so this went on for rounds and rounds and rounds, and he was rolling so well. He carried the whole freaking table because he basically soloed the spawn, right? While the other people were fiddling around with what was going on. Now, remember Johnny had gone into the other chamber, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did this another time when I ran Mask, and I did it this time too. In that chamber, it is essentially a replica of a New York apartment, right? With a gate in it to New York. That is how Imweru would go to New York and back to Africa. It's an out for the players for the big explosive ending that I always do, right? So just bear that in mind. So
Yeah.
they see that. They see that. Johnny comes back out.
And he
And
figures
then
it out. He figures out there's a gate there.
he figures it out. He figures it out. So they come back, and again, so the other cultists are beginning to pour in, and the combat is finally winding down, right? So the doctor is disabled, right? Not killed outright, but disabled, taken down. And Imweru begins attacking. I think it was either Johnny or Archie, right? And in the midst of this, in the interim, Pinhu has fallen. Imweru is the last to fall after the spawn has been dispatched. And I do believe that the porter took her down too, right? So it was fantastic.
With a frying pan.
With a frying pan. And so all of that happened, and then the cultists start pouring in, and then they run into the chamber as these cultists are pouring in. Again, the entire plan of Nyarlathotep has been thwarted. They've thwarted everything. Now remember, I did a different thing for the
You're
Eye
like a
of Light
time,
and
like yours
Darkness.
was like the thing was all they had to do was push the button essentially.
Essentially that, to pull the pin from the grenade and put it up. And so that was another thing. Johnny was the one that had it. So Johnny was trying to place it above the throne of Nyarlathotep, right? That's where, in my running of it, again, it didn't matter anywhere in the chamber to work, but they decided in the throne of Nyarlathotep is what to do. So Johnny ran over there, and as all this fighting was going on, I kept saying, all right, you need to make a power roll to intone the word and affix it to the throne. And he kept failing. He did. He struggled and struggled, and he was getting pelted by Imweru and getting at the time. And so that was some high tension there. But they finally did it. They accomplished all of that. They intoned the word. They sealed the chamber. They thwarted Nyarlathotep. And again, there was a huge earthquake. The mountain began falling down. Cultists were piling in, and they ran into the chamber, ran through the gate, and threw a grenade back behind them, right? Drop the grenade behind them to seal it, right? And of course, so there they all were with the porter in New York, and they won the Mask of
And they
Nyarlathotep.
loved it.
They loved it.
I can almost hear the hooting and hollering now.
They were
Must have loved it.
extremely thrilled with the ending of it, Ed. It was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. A heck of a finale.
I'm speechless almost. If I ever can be speechless.
It was
sounds
fantastic.
It sounds fantastic.
It was a great finale after, you know,
a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half
of this.
A year and a half, bi-weekly mostly, with some big breaks in there. We did it, Bob.
We did it. We did it. So yeah, so I mean, it was a fantastic thing, and I'm so glad we did this. And you know, again, it's now on to our next campaign.
Well, we really so here, folks at home. Here we've got kind of a we've got a lot going on. We're jumping into Shadows over Stillwater. I don't have that prop available. You know what prop I've got available is an old Susie Quatros album that I just went and bought from my local record store. Remember Susie Quatros?
Yeah.
Look that up on your whatever. It's
Okay.
an old time rocker from the 70s. She's fantastic. So, we're moving into running Shadows over Stillwater, and I've actually run my first session of it. So I assembled a team. I don't want to talk much about it here because it's a whole season 2.
Yep.
Season
Right.
2. So we don't want to spoil it. But so Bob and I have been working on it. We have not yet talked about how we're changing it. I'm loath to call it a session 0 because we made characters and then I ran an encounter really that brought the different characters together. So they're all in some, cabin. They meet in a cabin and during a snowstorm somewhere in Missouri. And there's a little thing there that really just kind of cements the team to go forward.
Yep.
So we've got a bunch that we plan to do. We'll see if it actually hits the table. We should give this a proper diagnosis. We should put the campaign, now that we've both run it, put it on the table and give our gentle, patient, loyal viewers our what for.
And we're talking about Mask of Nyarlathotep, not Shadows.
Right. Masks as proper armchair keepers.
100%. 100%. Yep.
So look forward for that. And we might do that before we release this tide of Stillwater videos. Now, have you scheduled your first Stillwater session?
Yes.
So you're on the hot train too.
Yep, absolutely. And again, so I've already seeded my character or my players with character ideas. Well, not with ideas, but inspiration, right? I have a specific way for them to generate their characters.
That's interesting. Save that. Write that down too, because we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as we move into Stillwater. And maybe we'll find someone to join us while we do this diagnosis of the corpse of Mask of Nyarlathotep. Maybe. Scheduling's always a bitch. It is.
But no, man, this was amazing stuff.
It was good stuff. It was good stuff. It was a very good time. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. Bob, you've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yep. Again, this is my 4th time running this thing. You don't appreciate something like this until you get to do it, right?
Yeah. So all right. So gentle viewers, thank you. Like and subscribe and share, please. We're always interested in growing this little love child of ours. This podcast, Bob, that's our love child.
Right.
The spawn of Matt and Bob.
That's right. It is our the product of our unholy union.
I think many episodes have required a sand loss or a sand check anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, folks. Like and subscribe. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Bob?
We're good, man.
Good night.